first class to try that out. We had an old one that had a bunch of different cells with different measurements, so we decided to get this thing built up a little bit better. Basically what's going on there is you have rafters all at different locations. It's designed to kind of get the guys that haven't used the chainsaw in a while to get the juices flowing again back using the saw. Okay, and rolling rafters and at different locations and not anticipating. It's more of a feel exercise where you're using your sense of feel, not anticipating where the next rafter is going to be. Okay, and then Steve will go over diagnostics too. Okay, your smoke indicators and your inspection log. Okay, to get everybody on the same page with the saw. Okay, we have a shit ton of these saws. They've been really good for us. We want to make sure everybody's on the same page, so we're taking care of these things. Okay, couple different ways we can start the saw. What are they? A drop start or on the ground. Okay, generally we're going to advocate that you drop start, but you guys can do what you want. A couple things to remember when you're drop starting. Okay, I like to hold the saw with the guide bar away from me. Okay, my left hand is on the top handle, my right hand is on the pull cord. Okay? Do you guys start your saws with the brake on or the brake off? Good. We advocate that as well, because it's just another step you have to worry about, right? We're all professionals, we're working on a craft. Be in control of the saw, don't let the saw be in control of you, right? That's what we tell all of our new people. So, with that being said, with the brake off, a couple of things to be considerate of when you're pulling down. So I like to grab the ripcord with my right hand. I kind of spock it, right? 2 fingers on each side. I'm going to push down with my left hand, and I'm going to pull up with my right hand. With the brake off, what do I have to be considerate of? It's going to start spinning. If I don't have a good handle on this thing, this is a pivot point here, right? So if I'm not having a good firm grip on here, I do run the risk of maybe nicking my leg. Okay, so make sure when you're pulling down, you can also push away from you as you pull up. Okay, so push down, try to keep this saw in the same plane as you're pushing down. All right, so I pull my cord till I hear what? Okay, cough. Obviously we're gonna be in cold start, right? Is that how you guys get your saws in run ready position, right? Cold start, cough, boom, 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 up to warm. Fire it up till it starts running. Give it a little juice, let it get warming up. Okay? Okay, good. Two ways to engage the chain brake. What are they? Okay, so manually, okay, or if I'm cutting along and I get a little kickback, I see something the saw, or I hit something the saw doesn't like, it's going to kick back and engage the brake. Okay? Really simple way to engage the brake. It's a simple flip of the wrist. Okay, we want to try to get away from you guys pulling your hand off the throttle because that's your control hand and doing this job, slamming down on the brake. These are plastic parts in there, there's a spring in there. We want to try to keep those parts lasting long for us. Okay, so it's a simple flip of the wrist. To disengage, we want to get you away from taking your hand off the throttle and doing this. Number one, I can't even do it with these gloved hands. With your structure glove, it's almost impossible. Okay, so I'm going to take the saw, I'm going to hook my left thumb on there, and I'm going to pull back on the brake, just like that. Everybody good with that? Okay, so when you're setting the brake, in this class, you don't have to, after you make a cut, set the brake when you change hands. We don't need to do that. Keep the saw running, keep moving, right? We want to be efficient with our saw operations. So you don't have to engage the brake. Just be mindful if you're swinging around the saw, there's people around you. Okay? Everybody good on that? Okay. As we drop the saw into the material, what angle do I want to be at? Okay, do I want it, so I want to engage the material like this? No. I want to start at a 45. If I try to start at a 90, what tends to happen?
Kick back.
It's going to kind of walk on you and bump around on you. Okay, so we start at a 45-degree angle. I put a little downward pressure on the top of my my handle here, right? Then as I get through the material, I want to try to get to a 90. Why do we want to try to get to a 90? Okay, good. We're going to have a much better way to feel the rafters because we're going to be able to put those teeth on that number. Obviously with 2x6, 2x8, 2x10, pretty easy to feel, right? In this prop over here, you have 2x4 rafters, a little bit more difficult to feel. Why do we want to feel where the rafters are? So we roll them. Those are our structural members that we're standing on, right? It's very confusing for a lot of the normal people to understand. You got people going up on a roof that's under fire, and then they're going to put a fucking hole in it, right? That doesn't make sense to a lot of people. We want to keep those structural members intact. Okay. So is it difficult to hold that at a 90 though? It is. It's not easy. Okay. So 45 to a 90, I bump that rafter. What am I going to do? Bring it up, go back to that 45, and roll back down in it and get to that 90. Any knucklehead can come up here and do a 45, right? And skim cut the top. But is that finding the rafters for us? No, it's not giving us a layout of what's going on with the roof. Okay, depth of cut. How deep do I want to go? Okay, so where we're going to find that information? For our inspection hole, which Steve's going to go over in a minute. Just watch your depth of cut. Okay, good rule of thumb is this little circle right here. That's going to give me about 3 to 4 inches of depth. If I'm getting up into the, on this side of the guide bar, the S and the T on the still, I might be getting a little deep. If I'm too deep, what am I running the risk of? Yeah, utilities, ducting, piping, like we saw on Monday, right? At the big liquor plant, how tight those sprinkler pipes were to the bottom of the ceiling. Okay. How about speed? Full throttle in, full throttle out. Why do I want to go full throttle? Yeah, it's going to give me I'm going to have the ability to feel the difference of resistance and material if I'm going full throttle. If I'm just kind of, revving up like a motorcycle, I'm cutting along and I'm not feeling anything. If I'm going full throttle and I'm cutting through panels and I'm going to hit a structural member, I'm going to be able to feel that a lot easier with that when I'm going full throttle. Okay. We really want you guys to work on being able to change your hands and work off your non-dominant hand. Are there going to be situations where you can't use your dominant hand, or you can't adjust your feet? You have to adjust your hands. Okay, on a flat panelized, I have to keep my feet generally in the same plane. Okay, I'm going to have to move my saw with my hands. Okay, here we'll show you, but you're going to cut all the way down with going from left to right, then you're going to switch hands and go from right to left. What tends to happen with our non-dominant hand when we're cutting? Get a little squirrely, like one of those, carvers at Disneyland that does the bears, right? Or,
that's what you came up with?
Yeah. Okay. Or what tends to happen with the cut? It starts to tail off. It's not very straight. Why do we want straight cuts? Maximize our hole size, right? Because we're only up there for a short amount of time. Let's make that hole efficient. We don't want to create those springboards, right? Inefficient cuts.
You all have a strong side and a weak side right now, whether you know that or not. Given the choice, you're gonna cut a hole right now one way. That's your comfortable way to do it. So this 2 weeks is your opportunity to work on that weak side. Okay, so that you can cut a center rafter louver as cleanly, right-handed or left-handed.
It'll come clear when we get to flat panelized, but what we want to see from you guys is, as the hook's figuring out where we're going to put our cut, I want you guys to be ready to go. When he says there, you're ready to go. Not that you get up to the hole, now you change your hands, okay, do I feel good here? We want you to, when he says it, bam, I'm right in there, boom, boom, boom. You know what I mean? Instead of, having your brake on, no, get the brake off, be ready to go, throttle up, get your hands in the right position because you're anticipating how my hands need to be on this particular cut. That's what we want. That's where we want to get you guys better and better. And it'll make more sense when we go. Even when you're doing like a steep pitch or a shallow pitch, getting those hands ready. Because what's going to dictate your hand placement or your foot placement? The location of my ladder and the location of my foot. That's all I got.
Diagnostics with me. We'll have 6 of you guys up here. Every one of you will get a 4x8 sheet of OSB, and you'll Swiss cheese the hell out of it. Okay, you'll stack as many inspection holes as you can on the rafters, and in between all the rafters in those voids, you'll pack as many smoke indicator holes as you can. All right? We know that you came here with that set of skills already. If I tell you to do it, give me an inspection hole, you will know how to do it. You can do it for me right now. Smoke indicator as well. But we want you to be super proficient. Okay, we're gonna show you. I might show you a little bit different technique than Dan. We know that there's multiple ways to do it. Do they all work? Absolutely. We want you to really work on your speed, efficiency, safety, and effectiveness here, okay? So when we're doing a smoke indicator or we're doing an inspection hole, we shouldn't be doing multiple foot changes, hand changes. You should be able to do those cuts with your feet in one spot and not changing the saw in your hands. It should be a couple second pull, not a 30-second operation. Does that make sense? Okay. All right. So let's talk 45-degree inspection hole. When do I cut it? Okay. Pretty quickly after you get up on the roof. All right. You're going to start by sounding out a safe area for your crew to be up there. Make sure you're in a good starting point. This inspection hole is many times going to be the first hole that you cut, but could I do a smoke indicator first? Could that first sawyer that gets off the ladder just do a real quick, small little smoke indicator right there to confirm that it looks like we're in a good spot, but let's just make sure we don't have any smoke underneath us? Absolutely, okay? Then we're gonna do our inspection hole. What did I recommend placement-wise? Okay, away from the ladder, bump in on the roof. We don't cut it on the bearing wall. It's gonna be a big enough hole that somebody's not gonna fall through it, but they could step into it, go up to their ankle, go up to their knee, and get hurt, and that's not a good thing, all right? So you're gonna bump in on the roof, whether that's 6 feet, 8 feet, 12 feet, that's gonna be up to you. If you're on a panelized roof and you can quickly visually identify a beam and purlin intersection point, I'd love to drop them right in that corner, because then I can get in there and feel and visualize what my beams and my purlins are made of, okay? So if that intersection point is 10 feet in, then go to that and do that, okay? Go opposite your direction of travel, okay? If I get on the roof and I know my fire, we're going to probably 40 feet that way, I'm gonna bump opposite my direction of travel in on the roof and cut it. Copy that? If you have a second truck coming up, let them know what you got if they're coming up a different ladder. If they're coming up your same ladder, which hopefully they're not, but if they are, then let them know where your inspection hole is. Because I know for me personally, even if I hear what construction type I got from another truck, I'm gonna visualize it myself. And if I can't visualize theirs, I'm gonna have my guys cut another one. Okay, do we make mistakes? Okay, so I wanna definitely know what I'm on. My agency, we have truck companies that will sound across the roof and will drop their inspection hole as part of the hole that they're cutting. I'm not a fan of that. They're doing it, but I'm not a fan of that because I like to know what we are traveling on before I go 40 feet across that roof, okay? Because we know what construction is beneath us. All of my players are also being able to formulate what op we're gonna be doing. Does that make sense? All right, very good. From that inspection hole, what information am I gonna gain? Out of that 10-second cut, what am I getting from it? Good. Okay. Okay, so I'm getting my deck material, 1x6, plywood OSB. How thick is it? What style is it? How thick is my comp? Is it 2 inches, 3 inches thick? If that's the case, and I only have 2 or 3 saws up there, what do I need to be thinking? Let's get a few more saws up here. We got real thick comp. We're gonna screw our chains up pretty damn quick, right? Okay. I'm getting my rafter size. I'm getting my rafter direction. I'm getting my rafter spacing. I'm getting a massive amount of information in 10, 15 seconds. Okay, relay all that back to your crew. Make sure they don't have any questions. All right, smoke indicators. What is a smoke indicator doing for me? It's very simple. Okay, how close we're getting to the fire. Even simpler than that, what are the conditions directly below my feet where that hole is, right? Okay, our recommendation is at a minimum, we cut them how often?
10 feet.
Every 10 feet, change of direction, change in building construction. So let's say you go from a flat conventional for 20 feet and then it goes into an arch. Well, I just did a smoke indicator. As I came to that arch, I would drop another one. You have a change in building construction, even if they're 4 feet apart. Make sense? If your inspection hole identified for you that you have any type of insulation, make sure that you're plunging through that with your saw, an axe handle, a D handle to breach through that so that you're getting true conditions below your feet, okay? Because that insulation on these panelized roofs, man, it's a great fire stop, man. it really will hide conditions from you. Okay?
Are you gonna do another inspection cut on that change of?
Very good. Absolutely, 100%. So again, if you go from one building style and you go into another building style, do another inspection hole. Okay? Very good. Conventional construction. We're doing our 10-foot smoke indicators as we're starting to identify that we're getting closer to where we're going to ventilate because we've got smoke from vent pipes, from whirlybirds. We're getting smoke out of all the seams. Interior crews are kind of telling you, CD corner, whatever the case might be. You know you're getting closer. Start dropping them closer. Start dropping them every 5 feet apart. Okay? For me, conventional construction, when I get fire out of a smoke indicator, that's where I'm telling my guys to cut. Because I want to cut red lines over the fire. Okay? Lightweight panelized, that is absolutely not the case. Space for time, right? Minimum of 16 feet. So you need to be engaged enough to identify what conditions you're getting out of the smoke indicator. So maybe you're not even going as far as you're getting heavy pressurized smoke. When you start to get decent smoke coming out and you feel it and it's warm, that's where you ventilate. Okay, but that's going to be a judgment call on your part. Make sense? Is there any questions on any of that? I talked about that kerf cut, just that single plunge kerf cut with the bar as a smoke indicator. Does it work? Yes, it works. For me, the downside of that and the danger in that is it may seal up. If conditions get hot enough and you have enough comp or tar, that may seal up. It happened on me, and that's why I don't do those anymore. Okay? The 2 seconds faster that it is for me, it's not enough to, it's not worth the risk. Okay? Any questions? Because once we get saws fired up, it's going to be hard for us to chat. Okay? When you're up here with me, like I said, I'm going to give you guys each a sheet. I'm going to turn you loose. I'll first demo the skills and we'll talk about it, make sure everyone's good. But then you got your sheet and go. Please stay on the one single sheet. All right? This prop is 16 on center, both sides. So you got 5 rafters in there that you should be able to drop 2 or 3 inspections on each one of those, depending on what size you do them. And you should be able to do a massive amount of smoke indicators. All right? If I do this in front of you or I tap you, don't get pissed. I have something to say. All right? And I'm not going to stop you for BS stuff. It's like I've got something fairly important that I want to discuss with you, and that's the only reason I will stop you. Otherwise, I'm going to let you go. Okay? Reps, reps, reps. And this isn't the only place that you're going to do these. Every op, as we start doing a company op, you will be starting by sounding, dropping an inspection, dropping smoke indicators as you travel. So you should be doing dozens of these while you're here this 2 weeks. We want you to leave proficient in a technique. It may not be what I do, it may not be what Dan does, that's freaking fine, but it needs to be what you're gonna do all the time. Copy that? Dan, or anything?
Nope.
Okay.
Good.
The 6 with me. Every one of you grab a saw